Welcome back to my YouTube. So today we're going to go over Dan's result and how Dan went from this picture on the left to how he's currently sitting 14 weeks out from stepping on stage. Now Dan is a absolute workhorse. He absolutely goes in on everything. Doesn't matter what I give Dan to do, doesn't matter what we have to do to get to the point we're at. He just does it. He just works. He asks questions. He's intrigued in the process. He's intrigued in what we're doing. He has no quarrels in like questioning me, which is great because I like that. I like the fact he wants to know the process. He wants to know where we're going with cardio, food, PEDs, training, how we're going to get the best look, and that is what we're ultimately after. Is that best look stepping on stage, first time as disabled. Dan has a disability with his feet. I can't remember the name of it, but he is classed as disabled, so he'll be doing disabled PCA first timers on June the 27th. So excited to see what we're bringing. Like, he's sitting currently in 9.9% body fat. We're looking pretty good. Like, when we look at his photos currently, like his back shot is coming in really well, as well as his like side shots. So these are two brilliant like side shots. Glutes are starting to come in. We can see vascularity, the striations through the back, the ribs. So we're 14 weeks out, really good position. Even considering his legs don't grow because of his disability, we're seeing vascularity, we're seeing growth through the calves as well, which is great. So how did we get to this point? So we started the photo shoot in 27th of August, the first week. His calories started on high calories of 3,306. That was on 3,336 calories on train days. Non-train days was 2,652. 102.2 kilos. This is where we started. In terms of gear usage, we started at 400 milligrams of Test D, 300 milligrams of L-carnitine, 40 micrograms of Clem, and 40 milligrams of Yohimbine. 10k, 25 minutes of cardio. And we started the program 4 times a week. After the first week, he dropped 1.3 from his original weight, which was 105.9 kilos. We can look in the check-ins of where he was at. So like 102 was his first weigh-in. So that was 3.7 kilos lost in his first week from his original start. What weight drops off, everything was pretty good. Going into his second week, he dropped another 1.3 kilos, was aiming for a 1% loss, and we got a 1.3. So we started, I was looking about a 1% loss each week. The third week, we dropped 0.7%, so from 109 to 102. Sometimes you can make them rash decisions. Nothing changed. We was still food, same cardio, same everything like that. We have weeks like that. The next week we dropped 1.4 pounds. Okay, so I made a change that. So we'd run that week. So I made a slight change to the nutrition. We dropped the calories by about 5%. So we dropped everything down a little bit, took a bit of food, and it worked well because we didn't get the 1%. I dropped to 1.4 the next week. So that next week we dropped 1.4. Gear and everything was exactly the same, no change. Literally all we changed was dropped a few calories. Went into the next week exactly the same, no drop to food or anything, and we dropped 0.9% this time. So just under the 1, but we still we got out of the hundreds into the 97, so was happy with that. Then we was planning a bit of a refeed, an off-plan meal. He got a cold and he was feeling a bit drained, so I planned an off-plan meal for that week. Ended up being really poorly, so we just put it as a deload week, and then we seen the weight go up a little bit because he was ill, which is normal. So we kept the food exactly the same. Numbers have been put the wrong way around here. So yeah, he dropped his he come in a bit higher, so we dropped the food going down, and then we started to see that move again. So we got the 2.3 loss. So obviously that inflammation from him being ill and the deload all did what he needed to, dropped out, bit lower food. So we're now at 2866. We dropped that like that the week of the end of that deload. I'd seen the weight go up, so we dropped that food down. We then gave us another 2.3 actually drop. So I was after 1.5% that week because of I knew the inflammation had dropped from being ill, and then getting back into training, cardio and everything like that from the deload was going to work. So it did its job. We then did actually start to bring in some new toys, shall we say. Anavar came in. L-carnitine went up to 500 milligrams, and Tren came in. So Tren came in the week before the deload, only at 50 milligrams. We was testing the water to see how his body responded. So even though he was ill and everything like that, we'd also put new androgens, so that has a part to play in it. Still 50 milligrams, and then we upped the trend from 50 milligrams to 150 milligrams, and then we've seen another. That's when we've seen the 2.3 drop, another 2.2 drop the following week, and as well as a slight change in calories. So we started to knock the calories down. We started to introduce drugs a little bit higher. And then this is where the magic started to see. We started to see consistent drops of 1.8 kilos, 1.3 kilos. Cardio went in as well. We started to bump cardio, started to bump steps. And this is where Dan started to see the results of abs and everything coming through. And by the end of that photo shoot, he was 87 kilos. That was 50 pounds down. In fact, he got lower than that in peak week. In peak week, it was a lot leaner, a lot lower. So going into the peak week for the photo shoot, we ended this on the photo shoot day. He was, where are we? It was 187 pounds with abs. He was in a good place. Gear and everything had been pulled out at that point, so he was in a good place. We had Christmas, we had December where we reversed dieted him out, started bringing them calories back up, put him on maintenance. And then come January, we started to drop them calories again. We started to go into a prep. He decided he wanted to do show prep, so we started at 3,500 calories on training days, 2,900 non-training days, and we've pretty much stayed there. Like we've not really dropped a great deal of calories. We made gear usage after the show we dropped that back out. So we went to 200 milligrams of Test E, and we bought some peptides in. We used Moxie, CJC, and Tesamorelin, and we run them right up till just as we started the prep. When prep started, we started on 400 milligrams of Test E, 300 milligrams of Reta, and 50 milligrams of L-carnitine. 11k steps, 30 minutes cardio. Steps has gone up from 13 to 15, but cardio stayed exactly the same right up to where we are now. We then started to when we got in 15 weeks out, 15, 14, when we got about 18 weeks out, we started to push up test and everything. So 600 milligrams test. The interesting thing is, with Dan, when he first started with me, 450 milligrams was the max Dan could do without getting side effects. We've actually done his bloods and at the end of the shoot, and then we've just got results back from his bloods, which I'll go through in a minute. He couldn't handle more than 500 milligrams without sides. We were actually running tests at 600 milligrams, 400 milligrams of mass, 4 IUs of GH, 3 milligrams of Reta, cleanse at 40 milligrams, Yohimbeams at 10 milligrams, 500 milligrams of L-carnitine, and we've just ran that for the last 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 weeks, absolutely fine. To the point bloods came back, lipids are all in a fantastic place, test is high, free test is good, sex binding a bit over out of range, but we're sitting at pretty decent places with everything. Nothing massively out of whack, even with hemoglobins and stuff, all in a good place. So running higher doses of tests, and we're still hemoglobin's exactly the same as there was coming out of a peak. So we're in a good place. In fact, estradiol's were lower coming out, so he's not aromatizing as bad as he was prior. So his body's in a super responsive place, which you can't change. That's exactly where we want it to be. Weight's been holding pretty average. It's started to come down now slowly, but the visuals have started to change a lot, like through the whole of this. So like we can see over the last few weeks, it's been started like posing with his trunks on, so we can see visuals are changing week on week. We're getting leaner. There's some flat weeks. We've run a couple of high days, like this was a flat look from him, so we gave him 2 high days of extra carbs, and it does the trick. The next week we're pumped. So we're in a really good position. I'm looking forward to the end result of what Dan's going to do. We've got more PEDs we'll be running with Dan, so we'll be doing loads of where we're looking. Max dose is 6 with Test and Mastron. Tren will be coming in. Injectable carnitine will be staying the same. Clenbuterol potentially moving up, but the way that we're looking at the minute, I'm happy with where we're at. Same with Yohimbine. I probably won't be pushing them up at all the way things are looking, because he's getting leaner week on week. So I don't see the point in. I potentially might even pull these out at some point, because I just don't see the point of pushing them at the minute, because we don't need to. We've also got SLU PP to bring in Slew. We've spoke about it, but again, the way that his body's responding to everything at the minute, I don't see why I need to bring more drugs into the fold. If I find as we get closer to the show date and we're 14, just under 14 weeks out, we might start to have a look at other things. But as I say, the way we're looking, I'm looking for 0.5% at the minute. He's that lean. He's hitting that. It was just under 0.5% last week. I expect he'll probably be a little bit under that this week. He's a bit under the weather at the minute, so we might see that. We had a little bit of a refeed and deload this week. We brought all his lifts down by about 20%. We kept him working. All lifts dropped, but I gave him 4,000 calories, a lot of carbs over 2 days. It's for 2 days at like calories like that, and he blew up. He absolutely massive from it. So we've seen like good responses. I've got loads to play with at the minute. As I say, still 3,300 calories, 2,200 calories non-train days. We've got a lot to play with, a lot of space to move. Still got cardio to play with, still got drugs to play with, and still got calories I can pull. So he's in a good place to say from that. But coming out of that first 13 weeks with him on the photo shoot, he did amazing results, as you can see, like from peak week just before the photo shoot. Like that's where we was at prior to the photo shoot. Some good results through that. And when you look at his start position, like his start position was all the way down here. Like that's where he started, the start of that process. Like this was his start position, and as I say, day of the photo shoot, that was what he looked like. You know, it's a massive amount of work, and he, as I say, he's an absolute workhorse and does everything that I ask and everything I need. Can't ask more from a client. The interesting thing about Dan is he turned around to me when we first started. I was like, "How are you finding it?" It was a little bit different from his normal training blocks of powerlifting and stuff like that. And he's like, "I'm just going to do everything you say, because if it doesn't work, it's your fault." And do you know what? You can't ask more of a person than that. And if that was his response, and I was like, "Yeah, great, okay." And if every client did that for me, it'd be amazing. Because then if you're taking everything your coach says and doing it, and you're leaving nothing left on the table, and it doesn't work, it's your coach's fault. But if you're doing everything and it's clearly the results here show that how well it worked, like you can't ask more. And Dan was not the only one. Like you've got Alex, I did a video of a few weeks ago, like a short reel of how he was a busy dad, and I should probably do a similar sort of video to that for Dan, for Alex, because Alex, again, busy dad, and he actually killed it with what he did. So the results are there if you follow what your coach is saying. Like it's just literally following what your coach is saying, do as you need to. Like Alex was natural. Dan, we have used enhancements, but it's all relative to that person. It's low. We didn't do crazy high gear. We played it safe with everything, which is what I like to do. If you have any questions or anything, please leave them in the comments and I'll get back to you.